Welcome back to Temporary Mail. If you not have watched our last video on Manuel Noriega, the most feared man in Panama, go check out the top link in the description. Enjoy the video. Omar Torrijos. Omar Torrijos Herrera, born February 13, 1929 in Santiago de Veraguas, Panama, and died in July 31, 1981, near the Penonomé Province, dictator-like leader of Panama from 1968 to 1978, who negotiated the Panama Canal treaties with the United States, leading to Panama Canal treaties with the United States, leading to Panama's eventual assumption of control of the canal. Life. Educated at a military school in El Salvador, Torrijos also studied military-related subjects in the United States and Venezuela. In 1952, he was commissioned second lieutenant in the National Guard of Panama, Guardia Nacional, the country's only military force, becoming lieutenant colonel 1966, colonel 1968, and brigadier general 1969. In October 1968, he participated in a coup by the National Guard that overthrew President Arnulfo Arias, and he gradually emerged as leader of the new military junta with the title Chief of Government and Supreme Leader of the Panamanian Revolution. He became one of the few Latin American leaders who visited Fidel Castro in Cuba, but he also suppressed leftist labor agitators and students in Panama. Under his rule, social services expanded, and Panamanians of African descent had more prominent roles in government. However, corruption and drug trafficking increased. Torrijos. Carter Treaties. Transfer of the Panama Canal and Canal Zone to Panamanian sovereignty became Torrijos' main objective, and he pursued it to a successful conclusion when on September 7, 1977, he and President Jimmy Carter of the United States signed two treaties by which the transfer would take place gradually. Panama assumed full control of the canal on December 31, 1999. In the election of October 1978, Torrijos declined to run for the presidency, though he retained command of the National Guard. He died in an airplane crash in a jungle area while making a military inspection tour. In 2004, his son Martin was elected president of Panama. Death conspiracy. Torrijos' suspicious death generated charges and speculation that he was the victim of an assassination plot. For instance, in pre-trial hearings in Miami in May 1991, Manuel Noriega's attorney, Frank Rubino, was quoted as saying General Noriega has in his possession documents showing attempts to assassinate General Noriega and Mr. Torrijos by agencies of the United States. Those documents were not allowed as evidence in trial because the presiding judge agreed with the U.S. government's claim that their public mention would violate the Classified Information Procedures Act. More recently, former businessman John Perkins alleges in his book Confessions of an Economic Hitman that Torrijos was assassinated by American interests who had a bomb planted aboard his aircraft by CIA organized operatives. The alleged motive is that some American business leaders and politicians strongly opposed the negotiations between Torrijos and a group of Japanese businessmen led by Shigeo Nagano, who were promoting the idea of a new, larger sea-level canal for Panama whose construction would exclude American firms such as Bechtel and Stone and Webster. Manuel Noriega claims that these negotiations had evoked an extremely unfavorable response from American circles. However, the documents with the investigations about the cause of the accident went missing during the U.S. invasion of Panama on December 20, 1989, and have never been found. Former Noriega Chief of Staff Colonel Roberto Diaz, a cousin of Torrijos, as recently as 2013 has several times accused the United States and Noriega of involvement in Torrijos' death and called for investigations. Torrijos died shortly after the inauguration of US President Ronald Reagan, just 2 months after Ecuadorian President Jaime Roldos died in strikingly similar circumstances. Like other Republicans when the Canal Treaty came before the U.S. Senate, Reagan alleged that Democratic U.S. President Jimmy Carter had given away a U.S. asset, the Panama Canal and the Canal Zone. In the 1976 Republican primaries, Reagan claimed regarding the canal, "We built it, we paid for it, it's ours, and we should tell Torrijos and company that we are going to keep it." Antipathy within the Reagan administration can also be deduced from Torrijos' sympathy and rumored support for Nicaragua's Sandinista National Liberation Front, whose popular revolution in mid-1979 had toppled the U.S., bet some as a dictatorship. If you enjoy our content, Make sure to hit like and subscribe to Temporary Mail for untold truths behind shocking historic events, narco sagas, wars, and more.